Someone's going to have to turn the tide today because there's really... It is a storyline of Reject backs up against the wall, T1 digging deep to force themselves back into APAC North, and it just feels inevitable. There's nothing short of inevitability and a sense of T1 dominance. So let's have a look. Habana banned out. I'm sure we'll probably see another hard breacher, maybe, you know, Flores, Thatcher. Maybe nothing too special.
Nothing so far, at least not on Clubhouse. You know, the Habana ban, it's always a hard breacher or two sometimes, but look, Flores again, something we highlighted in Oregon, you know, since he's come in, those Rotera drones, very powerful at clearing shields and some of those tricky gadgets in certain places, and even just flushing out anchor positions. Clubhouse is yet again another map that has a lot of those, so Flores is always a great ban. Does mean that Maverick is going to be up, as well as the other hard breaches being Thermite, Ace, etc. So lots of options on the hard breach side this time, at least for Clubhouse, as well as the Thatcher, I should say.
And you know what's funny? I think sometimes, like, teams have become so used to not playing with Thatcher, especially on Clubhouse. Like, since Flores has been introduced, there's been a little bit of a different storyline. But what I see now is Thatcher gets left in, and a lot of teams don't lean into it. A lot of teams don't use what I would consider the most impactful operator on Clubhouse for an attacker. Sure, Maverick, you definitely have the Maverick conversation in there as well, but it really feels like Thatcher just gets underplayed even when it's left in. So already we're not going to see any Thatcher showing face, but regardless, we'll wait and see. The Monty reprising here for Reject. Let's hope to the heavens above that there is some more success for them.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out when they attempted it on Oregon. Didn't seem to have much of an impact either, so hopefully this is something that will work out for them this side. Maybe they were expecting Cash CC to start with, because, you know, Monty can be super helpful on that attack, trying to take Garage and Rafters in particular. But Church Arsenal, maybe not as much of an impact. Again, yet to see. But outside of that, you know, pretty standard lineups on both ends.
That it is. And I mean, how much are we really backing in Reject here, considering, one, the fact that they've lost their map pick, and two, they're now coming into map number 2, Clubhouse, with just such, I mean, I would say a destroyed mentality. I don't know how else I could put it, Raven. A 7-2 is, it is a hiding.
It is, yeah, look, that is not a close scoreline by any stretch. Sometimes as well with those, you can say, oh, look, there was a lot of rounds that could have gone either way, like the scoreline doesn't represent it. No, like it was absolutely T1's map. It was strong. 7-2 scoreline really did it justice. Could have been, honestly, a stronger scoreline. So I think Reject just have to find some form. I think if they can get the first couple of rounds, especially on attack here in Clubhouse, look, they might be flying, but I have a lot to prove right now.
Start hitting some strides and there's some room to move, but if they don't, it's going to be very hard for them to find a way into this. So probably looking at Salty to create some of the room, you know, try and create some space for Reject to play off of, and it looks like they're already doing so. Maybe they'll start to push into Oil. I feel like Oil can be a little bit of a dangerous maneuver for a Monty, just given the fact that, you know, it's such a tight hallway and there is that opportunity for a flank should it ever come out. But it looks like Reject have certainly hit the mark in terms of what they're trying to hold. What's Salty doing? Surely not. You're not going to contest that, are you, Salty?
oh, he is! He is! No way!
Why?
Oh,
Raven!
Oh, boy. Well, that's not great. We talked about them needing to make a strong start. Salty, he's gone with the Monty. He's gone straight through Oil. He's tried to ADS the long angle to Arsenal. And no bueno, that is not going to work out. Fancy just absolutely annihilated him. Now Tadaniki, he's made himself a little rotate into dirt. He's going to start pushing up, but you can see this. T1 are aware of it. They've got Crazy Boy holding this angle. He's got Toxic Babes in the pocket. He can really burn out this delays as long as he'd like. Trying to push him back is Tadaniki with these nades, but again, this is a pretty important battle. Yep. It's going to be tough to come out of, and I just can't help but feel Reject are not going to have much time to piece together whatever this execute ends up looking like.
Well, what's even more insane is Crazy still has a pocket shield. Oh no! That is all the attention put into Dirt. This could not have gone worse for Reject. There is no world in which this is a worse scenario. You've had your Monty taken out trying to peek down Oil. You've had a player TK in Dirt and immediately just get absolutely domed by the shotgunner Crazy. He's still got the pocket shield. What is going on? I mean, this is done and dusted.
Look, it's not great. Certainly not for the opening round of Clubhouse. That being said, I mean, look, defense is generally, very generally here,
15 seconds
usually going to get the majority of rounds on Clubhouse, so they could just write this one off, move forward. But I don't know, not going to be great vibes. 2v5, they're not trying to make this clutch happen. It's certainly going to be tough. They are just going to have to reset completely after this one, Rob.
Yep. They're really taking all the time possible to just reconsider what has happened in that round, and it really does come down to composure. They have to recompose here. If this trend continues for them, they're going to be in serious trouble. There's absolutely no doubting that whatsoever. And one thing that you actually, you bring up a great point about defense and attack and how Clubhouse generally favors. In terms of comfort, the defense, I am shocked that Reject have chosen attack, because that's what I assume has happened, right? If it's T1's map pick, it means Reject gets to choose the side. It feels like maybe a missed opportunity for them choosing the attack.
Look, maybe. These bans definitely don't make me feel like it swings the match in either direction. Sometimes you might see particular ban sets come out and you go, aha, oh, that's going to make it a lot more defender-sided, or vice versa, but it's not the case here. So can't really look to that right now. One thing I am looking at, getting a bar stage bomb site here from T1. Certainly not something you see every day.
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I think I've only cast maybe one bar stage since its rework. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how they approach it. I think the last time I saw it played, it is a heavy extension above, holding on to the likes of Master and into Logistics even, trying to cut off that rotate from Con. So I could see a world in which this game does come down to a lot of that verticality and how important it is for T1 to hold that. But that's just my stabs in the dark. I know it's been a site for, God, it feels like maybe 6 months now, but certainly have seen so few of it that I don't have a good read on how it really plays out.
Yeah, look, definitely haven't watched many site holds of this one. It really is the least played for Clubhouse, and to mixed results as well. But look, I don't mind it. I think it's cool to see T1 mix it up a bit. Reject definitely have a much more well-rounded lineup this time around. They've got 3 dedicated hard breaches plus the Thatcher. They really are going to be able to make light work of the majority of things in their way. I dare say they'll probably prepared more so for a CC cash attack once again. But look, they move forward. First minute here, they're making some pretty good vertical progress. Kind of as you said, seems like they want to obtain that vertical control and push T1 out of those positions.
You know what I find interesting is like the approach from an attack on a bar stage defense is probably not all that different to gym and bedroom in terms of what you need to open up early on. You have to have control from servers across, which you're going to see. Instead of opening up the wall, Take is just going to come around. I'm sure it's not reinforced. So there are some very similar kind of approaches to that. So I guess even if they have prepared for that gym bedroom, it's not going to be, or even the servers, it's not going to be wildly different to the util that you'll use. Now I'm waiting to see what kind of opens up here, because T1 have actually spread out significantly. There was a player in blue there. There was also a player all the way over in strip. So very much a spread out defense with a lot of control from below. That interests me.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, they've opened the hatches. They've got the Oryx. I think it's a really cool, fluid way of holding the site, because it's a very squishy site. You definitely can't anchor on. So you do have to spread out. Could be above, could be below. And especially if you bring that Oryx, it's viable. So do love that. Reject have started to put themselves in some good positions here too. Tadaniki progressing towards this rear stage with the diffuser. Nice long angle from Salty as well in strip. Cuts all the way through bar. So Reject already shaping up for a fairly decent opportunity to maybe try that plant around the stage area.
What's important here for me is the fact 40 seconds left, they still had 5 drones up, so they've been able to send them into the site, get an idea for where all this utility is, and potentially where some of these players are bunkered down. Crazy Boy opens the proceedings with the kill onto Take. Now with the ace done and dusted, it doesn't really make too much of a difference with the utility. Tada Nikki bites back. Reject. They've got control of the kitchen hallway. They know there's a player potentially coming up from basement. Have to try and win this fight. Window can't manage to do so. Oh, I-11 actually managed to come up in the meantime, take the fight down the kitchen hallway. And this is just an absolute shutout from T1. What an impressive hold on a stage, on a bar that we very infrequently see.
Operators, you are out of time.
Love that from T1, honestly. That looked really fluid as the way I would describe that defense is they were just constantly moving around between floors, really baiting Reject into one thing, dropping through a hatch, and that opened up opportunities for picks. And then you saw at the end, the Oryx all the way on the top floor. I think it was Crazy Boy that was playing that operator. You know, he got that double kill in the final seconds because Reject just didn't really give themselves that much time, and they were just really chasing tail a lot of that round. Look, that was fantastic to watch.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Reject, this is T1 continuing just absolute dominance in this series.
It does really start to creep in here that Reject is 100% going to be playing Sengoku tomorrow in that in what is actually the lower bracket here at APAC North, Promo Rallos. So far, nothing short of impressive from T1, and it really just has no signs of slowing down. Big fan of how T1 held that and the way that they were so versatile in their lineup. Really does start to spell a bit of a concern here for Reject, knowing full well that bar and stage will still be viable for them later on in this half. And it didn't even feel like Reject had a good enough read on what T1 were able to do. And we are going to see gym and bedroom being held with the typical extension across toward cash. I'm interested with only one more reinforcement, whether they're going to reinforce in cash or where else that could end up being used, or if it's going to stay in the pocket.
I-11, he is out for blood. Gonna try and spawn peek around towards Kennels. Doesn't look like any players heading his way. He's going to pull off pretty early, in fact. But yeah, look, this is a very classic hold. Gym bedroom, spread across to CC, cash. And fairly classic approach at the moment from Reject. They're just going to try and open up through Kennels. And it's going to start to take that map control over on the east side, and they're also going to start to push towards Jacuzzi. And the good thing is they've stuck that same lineup. It's super versatile. They really are able to get so much done with these operators on the board. So at least, you know, getting that progress is probably not going to be what slows them down.
And always cautious of that dirt peak. We've seen multiple times before. You know, you're trying to open up the Jacuzzi wall and you end up getting punished for it. So always got to be cautious here. What's going on here? Is it being timed to perfection? I-11 just manages to pull it off. The Kaid trick. Electric Claw is gorgeously placed. And now with no more kind of opportunities to open that wall, at least for window, we now have to look to the likes of Salty and Take to get it done, which they should be able to do handily.
Definitely should, but this is going to take a bit of time. It's going to get them closer more to the minute mark by the time they've actually opened it ready for the trick.
Oh, he's
being
done.
fairly efficient though, is Salty at least, so that's one thing. Yeah, that peak could have been a little bit deadly, toes and all, but still surviving. And I-11's going to rotate back.
Nice.
And there's that pocket Rio that you kind of identified.
Yeah, really like that. That's a really good call. They clearly had an understanding as to what was going to happen there. But look, it can be a double-edged sword there. Sure, there's no movement straight into the bathroom, but there is also no rotate late in the round for T1 should they need to make their way around. So we'll have to wait and see whether that does end up being impactful. Fancy on the red stairs could be quite dangerous with a player still out by Kennels, and that's a lot of attention Reject have put on Jacuzzi at the moment.
It is. Fancy, he's going to rotate off. It actually looks like he was being held from a drone or something, couldn't quite see the angle. He's going to reposition. He's going to be able to catch the rotate in from CC, but he misses the shots on window. 30 seconds to go. That's going to stall out window on the push. It's going to really disjoint the coordination from Reject as they try and finalize this push. You see Salty has made it into the hallway. continuing the trick onto Bathroom, but T1, they've got some great positions here to try and hold.
Yeah, I11's going to be able to sit back. There's no pressure from Con right now, and I think there's also a deployable shield to help him in doing so. He's going to drop down to a prone position. Nice, beautifully crisp shot on the player at window. I don't even think that was I11 there, so holding on with only no time. It's done and dusted. I mean, the T1 are just bodying Reject.
This is definitely going from bad to worse. I mean, 7 rounds on Oregon, 7-2 scoreline, I should say, and now 3 consecutively here on Clubhouse. And it just doesn't look like it's letting up. All 3 rounds, T1 have just looked hands above, fire and above.
Hands down.
I'm mixing up 2 analogies. They just have looked like the better team.
Yeah,
there's no question about it. And I'm just not seeing anything that I feel like is going to change that for Reject.
Yep. Yep. Is there anything that can really change at this point? It just feels like T1 are on another level. They have just elevated to a different playing field, to which, you know, you know what? The best analogy I can use here, Reject is out here playing checkers while T1's playing chess. That's what it feels like, and that's what it looks like.
Yep. Or like Reject's playing badminton and T1's playing full-on football.
Just not even similar games, just completely different. You know, like, you know what? One's playing checkers, the other's playing rugby, and that's just what's happening right now. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm down with that kind of an analogy, because it does feel like that. T1 just feel like this is a completely different game to them. And honestly, when I look back at the 2021 season for T1, I am so impressed and so glad that this is the way that this is going for them. Obviously for Reject, it's a little bit upsetting. You know, we were able to cover them in the RJC, and I did hope for something a bit more. But at the end of the day, really the storyline here is about the teams that have been dropped down into relegations from APAC North and how they bounce back. And so far, you know, Fav have shown us that they are the team that deserves to be in APAC North, and right now there is no question, there is not a shadow of a doubt that T1 are going to be that next team.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It really is a big spotlight on these teams defending their positions, and Fav did so strongly. T1 currently doing so, if not stronger than what we saw from Fav in that first series. So yeah, look, this is definitely rough for the up and comers, some hard lessons, but we've talked about it a lot. There is that second chance in the 3rd place matchup that will be happening tomorrow, and of course this isn't done yet.
No.
You know, while this has looked dominating, I've certainly seen comebacks happen from all kinds of positions. They're only down 0-3. Look, Reject could turn it on, make it 3-3 half, and suddenly it's very doable on the defense.
I mean, we've seen it all too often, haven't we? We've truly seen it at nearly any turn, any competition you want to look at. There's always that pivot point. There's always an opportunity for a team to get that foot in the door and potentially turn the storyline, turn the tide of the game around. However, Reject, they need to take that opportunity. It doesn't look like they've really been given it as of yet. But with this time dwindling, that might be it. Look, they're doing a solid job this time around. Minute 20 and they're starting to really get some damage done on site.
Yeah, it's a lot better. It's a really big pick onto Crazy Boy, but this is a big oversight. Fancy just seems undetected from strip. He's going to be able to push up the bar. He's going to get the double rob. Maybe even a triple. No way. Fancy has just annihilated Reject. We've seen a team kill come out from T1, but it's a 2v2, just under a minute to go.
I mean, nice response from Window there, and T1 have handicapped themselves with a TK, so make of it what you will. Window and Salty now have an opportunity to make their way back into the side. What a shot from Salty! There's nothing left here. PJH now has to hold on. 3 kills came through from Fancy, and it might not be enough to get it done. The 1v1 edging around the corner. PJH takes his time with this. This nade could be quite gorgeous. Instead, it just falls short. PJH on an off angle catches Salty, making his way back around the corner. And T1 are flawless so far in Clubhouse.
Oh, man. Just when the Rejects looked like they actually were about to turn the tides. I mean, you pointed out they'd actually made really good progress. They'd started to put the pressure onto Church. They'd really kind of made... you know, some actual decent map control this time on that Church attack. But look, Fancy not being detected in strip massive oversight, got the triple that really ripped them open. But even in the 2v1 situation, I think it was Salty and Window.
Yep.
They just got a little bit excited. Window just kind of solo peeking the guy in church. Ultimately was their undoing. You know, they could have tried to go for a 2v1 plant situation or just better set up for a refrag. Unfortunate for them, T1, they've just been ready with answers constantly. As soon as Reject make a mistake.
Oh, and we're back to bar. We're back to bar. By the way, the only site we haven't seen right now is CCTV, which is generally one of the more common sites. So I do find that a little bit wild. But I mean, when you look at what T1 have achieved on bar in round 2, Reject never had a hold on them, never had a read on them, and never had a hope in hell of converting that round. So I really am going to back T1 in here. And what's most scary of all is, okay, team play for T1 has been near flawless on Clubhouse here, and you could even argue on Oregon. But certainly on the defense here of Clubhouse, they have done everything that they've needed. You look at the way that they approach the round, even things like having that pocket reinforcement to be able to you know, double barricade the bathroom wall after losing Jacuzzi. All these small things are tying in for T1. However, then when you take consideration of the fact that PJH just clutched in a 1v2 and we had Fancy drop a 3K in less than 5 seconds, not only do they have that capacity as a team, they also have that capacity as individuals, and it's happening again. Fancy's found the kill through the foothole at the barricade. You just can't write a script like this.
No, certainly can't. Tadaniki, he is going to have to sit on the cams. See him actually flicking spectators for a second there. But yeah, look, this is not a great start to this round. T1 could be looking at a 6-0 half at this rate. And Fancy, he's not done yet. He wants another. That is a hard angle to contest for that attacker as well. I do not blame Fancy for feeling pretty cozy in this position. He is able to get it, even though Crazy Boy has been downed, and there's at least some frags that have been traded here, Rob. Regardless, just T1 looking very good.
Yeah, a bit of an oversight from T1. They allowed the players to get into the basement and then continue to chase up. Crazy Boy has finally been taken out. PJH trying to rotate in. Hasn't been given an opportunity. This is not going to happen, no. It's not this time. Dark A manages to catch the drop down into pool. And at the bare minimum, we do have one round here for Reject, but probably going to need to see a little bit more, I'm not going to lie.
Definitely are. And look, they've done a great job capitalizing on that round. T1 maybe getting a little bit cheeky.
Yeah.
But it's still a big deficit and a big amount of momentum to try and swing. But you know what? This can happen sometimes. Your team gets way out in front. They get too comfortable. They feel like this is it. We're just going to win anyway, so let's have some fun. But then you let your opponent just get that little opening, that little bit of a glimmer of hope, and you'd be surprised how far some teams can take that. So that's one round in the book, at least, to Reject on Clubhouse here.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Well, the distance really is just shrinking by the round here. And although Reject have kind of given themselves a buffer, there is a fair bit left in the tank. And with T1 just dominating so far, really this opportunity has to be capitalized on now for Reject. They have to back in. They have to secure this round. 4-2 is doable. 5-1 with broken momentum heading into the second half. Oh, that is a really tough story to try and tell.
Certainly is. So this is, look, a big ask. Gym Bedroom attack for the last round of the half here for Reject. That can bring this to be a 2-4 half.
Imagine.
Look, it's somewhat salvaged, but last time they attempted the attack here, it was a bit tough. You know, it was a little bit... I wouldn't even call it slow. They actually did a pretty good job. They got all this hard breaching done early. They had a little bit of trouble on Jacuzzi Wall, but it was just progressing from that point onwards. Just felt very difficult for them, and T1 looked cozy. So they need to be able to try and find some maybe early picks, just something that allows them to progress past just this initial phase of opening walls and getting those line of sight set up.
That's what it's all about here. It really is on Clubhouse, a game of mini games, and it's ensuring that you can kind of, you know, set those dominoes up and prepare to just knock them over bit by bit. That's a gnarly angle that I actually don't see used a hell of a lot. Window just on a on a strange rappel, obviously you're completely exposed, and it's not really ideal, but it is something that maybe could be seen as a chance to catch someone out there. Salty now, maybe trying to bait someone out into peeking from the construction door. It's not going to happen. T1 are not biting this time, and in fact are anchoring incredibly hard. Oh! As I say that, Raven.
Curse it a little bit, but no frag out of it. And that's 90 seconds in without an opening at least. Not sure who that really favors. I mean, obviously it does favor the defense, but Reject really needing this opening pick, and it's just not coming yet. Exothermic breach on this con wall. Interesting. Electing to just get a nice big line of sight in through towards master bedroom. Cleared out the shield, so they're ready for a bit of a run in that direction. But again, T1 just really not giving them anything early here. They're going to have to work for these picks to try and get into side and have any chance of a plant.
Okay, backing off, thinking that someone potentially is going to be going on a flank. T1 haven't really shown as such. It is going to be Fancy taken down, who has been doing a chunk of the damage, as mentioned. Those frost mats are going to be quite cheeky toward the end of this round, and you really need to make sure you leave enough time to utilize it to its fullest extent. You're going to see the pings coming out now, so at the very least they know about it, but it's one thing to know, it's another thing to deal with. 30 seconds left.
Certainly do have to deal with it. Man advantage is going to help. Time ticking away. Logistics looks like it's a target, but Crazy Boy has a great angle.
Oh.
11 has equaled that advantage. This could be a tough little push now for Reject.
This is going to be impossible. They're going to deal with those frost mats, on the underside of the windows. Crazy's going to be able to hold on to logistics, so they can't push in from the backside. And things are falling apart here for Reject. Time is running out, and so is the opportunity to even look competitive against a dominant T1. 5-1 the first half finishes.
Huge half from T1. Honestly, that was quite the display. You know, the round that Reject won, look, they did a good job capitalizing on some mistakes that T1 had made in that one, but T1 definitely maybe drops their guard a touch, but every other round was just beautiful from T1. They executed some really great defenses, in particular that bar stage. Just I really enjoyed the successful bar stage defense early on, and this is just a really big deficit now for Rejects. One round, and they have to at least push it to overtime. The way they've been playing, it seems like it's going to be a very tough ask. But look, we've seen stranger things happen on Clubhouse defense halves.
Yeah, we have. We've seen some pretty crazy things over the times, but look, 5-1 down, you're on your defense, you've been given one round to work with, essentially. That's all you've got, is one round to breathe and to make a mistake and to potentially falter in any way, shape or form. Whew. Telling that storyline, Raven, is near impossible. It is near impossible. So, focusing in,
10 seconds
Reject really just going to... I think you take all the pressure off yourself here, Raven. You don't take yourself too seriously, which, to be honest, some of the rounds, it doesn't look like Reject have. Just relax and enjoy what will be potentially only 2 rounds, because T1 are just on a tearing force.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive lineup. I mean, they haven't gone for things like the Kaid, for example, with it being available. They've gone for a lot of aggression here. It's going to come through the Vigil, come through the Alibi. The Walmai, even the Mute could play aggressive. I would not be surprised to see them all try and take early picks. And there it is. Sake has found that early pick onto Fancy. It's the Finker off the board. And look, that could be a good little opening here for the rounds.
Certainly could be. Something to work with. Fancy going down. Finker could be a little bit frustrating. And it looks like they're still going to try to play more. Oh my word. Crazy has just given a haircut of a lifetime to Take. And now with that, it just goes from bad to worse if they're not careful. You know, the Vigil, the nuisance that is on that roam kind of just falls by the wayside for Reject. They've still got one player in the Alibi that I think has backed away off that second floor. Nope, still up there in logistics. And I've no doubt T1 are going to want to cut her off.
Definitely will want to, and also fairly soon, because there's still a bit of progress to make on the attack here. The hatches were reinforced. Salty is going to get droned out on this rotate, trying to maneuver around away find the way back to site. PJH does have a bit of a cut here, but it looks like... Oh, he's got himself in a trap here at main stairs. This could be huge. And Salty catches PJH completely off guard.
That doesn't seem right, does it? That seems like an opportunity just completely missed there for T1. They're going to take their time in trying to deal with Salty. And remembering, with only a minute left, they really are running out of it, but not anymore. T1 equal out the odds. What kind of utils left on the board? Only a C4 for Tadar Nikki. Nothing else to really deny, and I mean, T1 can really get to work now. What kind of hatches do they have open? What work have they been able to achieve, though?
Yeah, this isn't really the downfall. Oh my lord, that was a cheeky C4. Up the hatch as it blows. But yeah, this is the downside, I guess, to... oh no, the defense lineup that Reject brought is... no Kaid, so the hatches can still go open with that ace. That being said, man disadvantage and not much time. So I mean, the roam has done a pretty decent job of what was needed to be achieved. Now the final 25 seconds. Arukaze and Crazy Boy, they're going to have to try and combine for something special to push T1 to match point.
Look, Arukaze has had a pretty unbelievable game so far, but T1 are going to have to pop off here, and window shuts down. Crazy Boy coming around the corner. That is the kit done and dusted. Still has an opportunity to hit some shots here, but with 5 seconds, time is pretty much done and dusted. Tadar Nikki does a great job of dancing and prancing around the backside of the chassis. Whilst also hitting a nice little crisp headshot. But moving forward, it does give them something, gives them more hope here, but they've got a long way to go.
Yeah, still quite the mountain to climb, but look, they looked a lot better on that defense, a lot more comfortable. They kept it really flexible, right? Like, they just played a fun play style. You know, they brought those aggressive operators. They went heavy on the roam. They got an early pick, first 30 seconds, in fact. All of that really just will play into reducing some of the pressure they're probably feeling, some of the stress. And it's only 3 rounds now, and if they can continue to play like that on defense, look, maybe they can close this gap.
That's some promising words there, Raven.
Attackers
Yeah. You're really backing it in, aren't you? Don't go too overboard with it. It is very much just the tale of two halves here. Maybe if we just completely forget about the 5-1 in the first half, by the way, a second 5-1 for T1 in this series, maybe we could just say, you know, Reject, they get on a roll, they take the first 3 rounds, and hey, things are looking pretty good. But again, provided T1 don't play into this tomfoolery and don't, you know, kind of lean into Reject's play style, which I'm sure will be at times a little bit memey and over peeking and others and spawn peeking as regular as possible, I think they should be able to get this done decently quick. But really, we do see so many teams become complacent at 5-1, 5-2, and that's when teams start to bring it back. So hope is still there.
Definitely the case. Look, they still haven't brought additional Walden R this time around. They've just got the mute. Not quite sure if they're using jammers for those main walls or whether it's more about the info. But this is a really good initial push here from Fancy. Didn't ADS in time, and Salty punishes him for it. That is unfortunate for Fancy. 2 rounds in a row now where he has died in that first 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's rough. He was droned as well, so Salty pretty much was, you know, against the grain that entire time. Fancy can't get it done in time, and I think, you know, you made a perfect point about the fact that he wasn't able to ADS and set himself up for that fight. But really, I thought that was it. I thought, you know, that's where Reject crumble. That's where T1 really find their opening in the round, and really hasn't turned out that way. You got to be so, I mean, I'm just going to say it out loud. You got to be so careful not to play into Reject at the moment, not to just go in, you know, in that aspect and try and gun as soon as humanly possible, because I do think out of the 2 teams, Reject are going to thrive in that environment. So just be cautious. Just be cautious.
Definitely agree, you know, situation you don't want to give the other team too much rope. Start to give them a bit of belief and they may turn this one around. Now, still plenty of time, 90 seconds, halfway through the rounds for T1 to progress. Then they've been able to get this control now through CC into Cash, so it puts them in really good proximity towards Logi and even the main bedroom for a potential plant. That being said, we haven't seen T1 go to Jacuzzi and really open that line of sight and put that pressure, so this could be a little bit tricky in terms of setting up for this plant. Maybe they'll go to it late.
Yep.
And that might just be where PGH is running to right now.
Impact ready.
Oh, Taraniki. Oh, salty. Oh, just like that. T1. 2 players here with 4 on the defense for Reject. And this is the problem. You start to allow this thing to happen and it'll start to snowball a little bit. Hint of belief comes into my voice as Crazy Boy does manage to find one more, but Salty on this flank should pretty much be the nail.
Should be. Doesn't commit though. He's going to rotate back around. Does have a C4, so can play Vert with 2 still on the site. That's going to be tough for Crazy Boy in this situation.
Oh, Crazy. Oh,
there it is.
Salty. What a round from him, man. Like, the rotations were perfect. The gunfights were on point. Doesn't get much better than that. And look, all of a sudden, 3-5. The storyline completely changes at 3-5. One more round, you're only 1 away from T1. And you're closing that gap on a defense that is, I'm probably going to say, one of the more favored in terms of our maps that we play. I would say Clubhouse defense is generally quite solid. So there's an opportunity here. Don't squander it, Reject.
Very true. I think they can taste it a little bit. 2 rounds is certainly much more palatable than 4 that they started the half with to kind of claw back. So this is looking good. I mean, they've been able to catch T1 off guard with 2 early picks the previous 2 rounds, and it's certainly factoring into them having a more comfortable competition throughout the round. You know, T1 aren't really steamrolling them as we saw in that first half. So I guess this is probably a lot more about T1 just being a little more cautious, not losing that opening pick, and might shape up the round a bit differently. Definitely seeing a much more standard lineup this time from Rejects though. You know, the last 2 rounds had looked like it favored a little bit more into an aggressive playstyle, where this is exactly what I feel like I'd expect to see on a Catch CC defense.
5 seconds remaining.
It's more owl traditionano.
Objective is to locate
There's
a bomb and defuse it.
Element of comfort and ease that gets brought with this, but with, I mean, look, the magnets are all good and well, but I really do feel like ADSs are the, yeah, they are the money. Jaeger being able to have such a large impact on, though. Oh, fancy, just crouch. There we go. We got there. We got there. Not runnable. Not runnable. So, all right. Time to burn here. And T1 aren't wasting any of it, to be completely fair. Nicely done getting into basement and shutting down those rotates that we sometimes see. But it looks like Reject are playing a little bit more tame this time around.
Oh. Aggressive peek from the top of the red stairs hallway there, trying to get PGH, but no, he's been able to trick the wall. Bit of a C4 impact, didn't quite see what it was, but regardless, that's some good progress from T1 already. Kennel's wall open, as you like. Now, trying to get a nice pick onto Take. Doesn't look like it's going to work out. That nade missing the mark. Still some great positions from the defense. And on top of that, no time. He's found Fancy again. Fancy is not having a great time with not being the opening death in this half.
No, not like this. Not like this. It's starting to slip away from T1's hands, and now you start to question the composure that we see from T1. Reject are running an absolute muck here on the defense of Clubhouse. It's only been 2 rounds, mind you, but certainly this is looking much more confident and almost cozy from them in a certain fashion. Salty gets deleted from out. Oh, PJH has just absolutely yeeted into the site, and T1 back it up. Taraniki manages to find a quick response window too, and a 2 versus 2. How on earth has this happened so quickly?
T1 just made the call. Guys, it's not that complicated. Let's just go site. It seems like it's worked out. Taraniki, he's got bullets coming in every which direction. He's got a bit of a job ahead of him, but certainly it's all a 1v2 clutch and still quite a lot of time on the board as well to make it happen.
He can isolate the ones. Nope, not a chance. Not a chance. PJH was waiting and willing to receive an open kill. I mean, that is the freest thing you'll ever receive in your life. Now, match point for T1. And 1 round away from securing and re-cementing themselves in APAC North.
Yep. Big stakes on this one, especially for T1. Rejects, they've been behind the entire series, not just on the scoreboard, but seriously in momentum. They have finally strung a couple of good rounds together, but that's now been shut down by T1. Some nice adaptation on that attack. Church Arsenal is the round, or the site that we're going to see Reject go to hold. Previously, we saw them play a very aggressive lineup. Pretty much exactly what they've got now. They had an, oh my gosh, alibi instead of the cap can. Gone for the cap can on this occasion, but seems like they're going to stick to a pretty similar play style or ethos on the way that they hold this.
Now, I'm going to take a small moment to breathe, because with T1 on match point and Reject left with so much to do, seeming a pretty high mountain that they're going to need to climb. Probably should have gone with the word tall mountain there, but hey, it's the beauty of being a caster.
5 seconds left.
Half the time you use the wrong words and it just it flows on. Now down in the basement, Reject have an opportunity to almost have a place to call home. The last thing you want to be doing though, giving T1 that room to move, especially after what we've seen so far. Definitely need to see Reject still in the faces of T1 just like that. Crazy Boy nearly caught out. I believe that was from Take. And Salty's up top, making sure that if anyone tries to re-peek that area, it is going to be to their demise. What? What a call. Salty deletes High11.
Well, at least it wasn't fancy. Poor fella's gone to the Monty this time around just to avoid dying first. But yeah, that's a really good pick. And again, Reject just sticking to a playstyle that's working for them on these defenses. Now, T1 do have quite a few rounds in the pocket in case this one does continue to fall apart. But they've really let Reject find something that's bringing them back into the game here. Salty in particular has been hitting some great shots for Reject.
I guess he's going to need to continue to do so as well. There's still a lot to be done in this round, but 10 kills, double digits. The only player on it, mind you. This has actually been a bit of a frag fest, if you ask me. You look at both teams and everyone's chipped in with something, with a round of magic, and still got plenty to go. If Reject will have it that way, T1 is just knocking on that door. And with dirt open as well, I would dare say maybe the Monty's going to try to swing back around. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. Just making the old murder holes. Always got to be cautious.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they can really decide where exactly they want Fancy to push. I mean, he was clearly used to help clear out top floor, and we can see from the outlines, pretty sure I counted a quick 5. Looks like Reject are all back on site. But time, that is starting to run away from T1 as Window has found another pick in dirt. It's the Monty that's going to have to aggress him out of there, and Reject just look like they're sitting pretty for being able to hold this round.
Yeah, don't mind that from Take. Come in with the impacts and do a little bit more damage. Salty's still got some in the pocket as well as the C4. They're not sure if there's another player sitting in the back of dirt there, but they've got to be careful. The timing there could have been everything from Fancy, who now decides that he's going to have to try and take this fight, and I really like this from Reject. You've got the upper hand and swarm all over him. T1 have no response here. And Reject just go bang.
Look very clean. Reject have put another round in the pocket, and it's only 2 now being the deficit. Can they do it? 4-6. Can they push this back to OT? Look, T1, they just need one more round and that's it. Series over. Back in APAC North. They can rest easy for the rest of the weekend. But Reject are really fighting back. Gym Bedroom is the next site on the cards. T1, they just... I don't know, they're letting this one slip a little bit, Matic. I'm very concerned they're just giving Reject that a little bit too much of a look in.
Yep. It does feel like that. It truly does feel like that. And the dream of finishing before 9 might be squandered if Reject have it their way.
Attackers
Honestly,
need to
I
locate
think
and defuse bombs.
if I'm being perfectly honest, I think Bank would be the perfect place to end here. But obviously, T1 have definitely shown us that if it finishes 2-0, it's well and truly deserving. Now we've got 2 rounds for Reject, and we've got obviously your gym and bedroom. But where it goes from here, they still have, of course, Bar that they can reapproach should they wish to do so. But CCTV will obviously be the what I would assume the final choice if we're able to confirm this. And once more with this gym hold, we will see the extension across into Cash. Wasn't really held last time from Reject from memory, or have they not even? No, they have held gym. Have they? Oh, am I going crazy here? I don't think they've held gym yet, have they? Yes, they did. Second round, don't worry. I'm looking back at my notes and I've scribbled all over the page where their last round was, so yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's hope that we can see it, Raven. We need it.
Should definitely be using Dev's match tracker V57.8,
yes.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yes, it is a godsend for looking back on sight. It's very easy to see. Round 8, gym bedroom was run by Reject.
Yeah.
Fairly strongly, again, you know, those first 2 opening defense rounds were quite good from Reject, really playing that aggressive play style and making it hard for T1, even though they were doing a great job with map control and actually making progress. They were bleeding picks. So, this is, again, I kind of think a lot of the pressures you see here on T1 to just figure out how to adapt to what Reject is doing. This playstyle has changed significantly.
And it has. Impressive to say the least, so we're certainly not done yet with determining what team is going to take this APAC North position. I would love to see Reject just push this back, and I think T1... I mean, this would really be the big test right now. They've got 2 rounds to do this in, and if they don't, I mean, really the questions are probably going to be asked a little bit from us. Fancy may have just found the line. Oh my word. I don't know whether that's a deployable shield or maybe even in behind the toolbox, but regardless, that is a line that they will be able to deal with as slowly and surely. That time has already ticked over half. T1 have a lot to do still ahead of them, but they have taken Cash and slowly with that con control.
Oh, shut down by Crazy Boy. That was some really good reaction time. Quite the swing too, because especially when you're repelled, there's only so far you can kind of face backwards past your shoulder. So Salty not able to make that opening impact this time around, and this could be what T1 need. They're coming into this last minute of the round. They only need to win this one to close out the series, and they've got themselves that man advantage.
Maybe trying to burn that gate there. Take nearly takes the brunt of the damage.
Bomb located by attackers.
35 seconds. Time is slowly crumbling, but so too a Reject, which is the big issue here. They've got 3 players left. They've got the utility to hold, but with Tardarnicki going down, Fancy, he's made the room for the rest of T1 to come in and collapse. It's going to be Window who's gone down. No time with nothing left here, but he does hold on. Finds himself a quick double in a 1 versus 3. He's got to hit the shots. Salty's trap has been able to help him, but he can't make it around the corner in time. T1 will be your team, retaining their APAC North position.
Look, hats off to T1. That was a very hard-fought series. What am I saying? Dominant series. They really showed strong on Oregon. And then, look, I would say the same on Clubhouse, but they did let Reject just get that little bit of a look in. Credit to them, though. They adapted well in that last round in particular. They finally closed it out. And, yeah, look, they're going to be back into APAC North for 2022.